Rudeus Greyerant and Eris successfully come back to their village with the help of Ruijerd, a suburb, only to find out that the village is ruined. After seeing that they are on their land, Ruijerd bids goodbye and will continue his journey of making good deeds to redeem their reputation. Later on, Rudeus was able to sleep with Eris. She promised that he will sleep with him if he turns 15, but Eris offered her first to Rudeus ahead of time. Rudeus does not suspect that something amiss with Eris, but the next morning, Eris was gone. With a heavy heart because of Eris, Rudeus decided to set on journey on finding his mother Zenith as he have agreed with his father. On his travel in a caravan, he met Suzanne and Sara. Suzanne tries to strike a conversation seeing that Rudeus is so down, but Rudeus answers her nonchalantly, which earns a scolding from Sara. Thus, Rudeus explained that he is finding his mother who is caught by the teleportation accident. Upon arriving, Suzanne and Sara reunited with their party while Rudeus decided to rent a room for himself. While discussing the rent, Rudeus just put huge amount of money and proceed to his room. He is sulking on Eris but decided to get up and went to the guild. Other adventurers criticize him as weakling in appearance. Rudeus walks straight and asks the lady to disband his party. He then picks a task, but the lady was shocked to hear that he will go alone. Suzanne arrived and offered him to do the task with her party. Rudeus reluctantly agrees. They went to meet the party and decided to prepare their things and set on the task tomorrow. Sara is sulking seeing that Rudeus will go with them. Early in the morning, Rudeus went to their meet-up place and introduces himself as mage that can use incantationless magic, but he was not able to accept Suzanne's hand. Along the way, they introduced theirself one by one. Timothy as the leader, Mimir the healer, Patrice the vanguard, and Sara the counter-attacker. Sara scolds Rudeus expressing her disapproval of him, but Suzanne advises Sara to learn to cooperate with others. While on camp, the party discusses their role. Rudeus offered to take more role but easily got rejected by Sara. Rudeus sees Eris on Sara on the way she acted. Timothy apologizes for Sara's action and praises him as incantationless magic, but Rudeus tells him that cannot even save the people he lost. In the next scene, Suzanne and Sara scout the number of grizzles, seeing that they are few and take a nap, so they took action. Timothy hit the grizzlies with flame while Rudeus held him down using his magic by creating mud that stops them. Realizing something, Rudeus placed his ear on the ground. Suddenly, a group of black grizzlies covered in mud approach them. Timothy orders everyone to retreat, but it turns out they are surrounded. Rudeus surrendered on himself and wait for the attack, but Suzanne shielded him. While the party continually fight, Rudeus is confused why they still fight although being cornered. Bunch of grizzlies were taken down, but only to see a whole new group. Rudeus then decided to take action. Grizzlies charged towards him, but suddenly stopped seeing Rudeus making a huge ball of flame. He concentrates his magic before throwing attacks to them and creating a big explosion. In the morning, a large number of bodies of grizzles are scattered. The party is busy peeling off the fur of the grizzles. Afterwards they burned them. Suzanne and Sara thank Rudeus and he laid his hand and thank her too for bringing him along. When coming back to the guild, the other adventurers are eyeing them. Timothy then announces that they will treat them since that is their first accomplishment. The adventurers stunned but they all rejoices. Suzanne introduces the group along with Rudeus. Rudeus then was able to be happy. In his room Rudeus cries and regrets his decision to give up on life. He then remembers all of his past, how he came to this world, his family, friends, and his master Roxy. Months passed and Rudeus continued to live in the city taking various tasks while improving himself. He wants to catch the attention of the citizens with the hope of gaining fame, and his name to be known to reach Zenith his mother. After getting Roxy's underwear, he went to the guild and heard a party setting out on a journey. His name was known and got another nickname which is Quagmire. He decided to pick a task. The lady was taken aback seeing Rudeus holding an underwear. He then helps in removing snow. He uses his magic to melt the snow and help the bruised kid. Sara saw all these and offered him to join in a task. But Rudeus has second thoughts since his purpose to get to be known. Suzanne and the party came and offer the same thing to Rudeus. Thus, he agrees. They went to Galgo ruins to gather scale of snow drakes. Timothy explains that the ruin is the fortress during the first human-demon war. Rudeus was amazed by the ruins. He foresees Sara getting tipped, thus he help her, but his hand is bit misplaced. While Mimir and Suzanne pick scales, the others are remained on guard. They plan to hide if they saw snow drakes. He then notices a statue which seems to be familiar. Suddenly snow drakes appear. Rudeus tries to hold them down by making a barrier using earth and he runs. Looking back in the barrier, the snow drakes have crawled. He uses ice snow to slow down the snow drakes, and when he turns around, he sees no one. But he smiles knowing they are able to escape. When the snow drakes prepares to attack him, the party then suddenly appears and help him. Sara scolded him for standing around. Suddenly, another party arrived. They decided to go along and fight the snow drakes. After clearing out, Timothy thanked the other party only to get a punch. The other party accused them of snatching their prey. Suddenly, Rudeus remembered them announcing their commission on subjugating snow drakes in Ilbran Cave. Suzanne gets works up indicating that they are not in Ilbran Cave but in Galgo ruins. Timothy calms Suzanne and Sara, who is pointing her arrow. Timothy explains that they there with different commission, that is to collect the scale of snow drake to subjugate them, and that the Ilbran Cave and Galgo ruins innermost part are just connected and the prey run towards them. Seeing that their commission is not being taken away, the leader of other party apologizes. On the guild, the party celebrated their accomplishment. Suzanne teases Sara for being passionate and going straight to Rudeus to help him. Thus, Sara got worked up defending herself of just owing to Rudeus, so she helps him. Rudeus thinks that the other party leader, Sol, is just as his father when he is young. Suddenly, he appears being drunk. Sol apologizes again to Suzanne of what happened earlier, but seeing Timothy, he expresses his anger toward him being passive who don't easily fight. Timothy just brushes it off and agrees to him being passive. He then eyed Rudeus, who hate the most, especially his smile. He thought that Rudeus are too concerned of what other may think of him, and that his eyes are looking down on others. He says that Rudeus is very pessimistic, so he must be running from something, thus he hates him being a brat. Rudeus tightened his fist and apologizes for being an eyesore and promised not appear in front of him. Sol grabbed his collar and scolding him for taking a task and not accepting the money. Instead, he wants his name to be spread. Conrad separates Sol from the party while Sol continuously cursed him. Rudeus restrained himself while Sara helped him clean his clothes. Winter came. Sol sees him in the guild and scolded him again for the same reason. Suzanne and her party came being too down. Rudeus then informed that Mimir dies while Sara lost on their mission. After losing her, they abandoned her because of blizzard blinded them and snow buffaloes attacked them. They intended to go back after the snowstorm. Rudeus decided to set out and find Sara. He stops the blizzard and walks toward the Trier forest. As he was walking, he's contemplating why he wants to save Sara. He thought that he doesn't want to abandon others, thus he wants to do so, not unlike what Eris done of abandoning him. In the file of skeletons, he found Mimir's body. He keeps a cut of his hair and found Sara's earrings. He then set the skeletons on fire. Suddenly, a piece of large ice almost hit him. He saw Sara being held inside a tree. He rushes toward to save him and jump into the water. The two take refuge in a cave. Rudeus heals Sara's wounds. Sara panics and get dressed. He asks Rudeus why he came, and that is Timothy tell him that Sara and Mimir is missing, but he found out that Mimir died. Sara calls out Rudeus and with a smiling face and tears in her eyes, she thanked him. On the way to the city, Sara saw her party and run towards them. Upon knowing that Rudeus set out alone to save Sara, Suzanne scolded him for being reckless that could be dangerous. Sara defends Rudeus and Suzanne apologizes. Timothy thanked Rudeus and they went inside the city. Rudeus separates ways towards his apartment. In the next scene, Rudeus and the counter-arrow party are having booze after a successful commission. He increasingly became famous as Quagmire Rudeus. His relationship with the group becomes better, especially with Sara. She opens a conversation with him telling him his father was an archer who influenced her to become one. Rudeus shared that his father is a knight but he was better in magic than sword. Thus, they hired a tutor for Rudeus in using magic, and that is Roxy. Hearing that his master is a girl, Sara's mood changed. Sara then tells him that she uses a knife in fighting but the knife's blade gets chipped. So, He invited Rudeus to come with her tomorrow to buy a new one. Rudeus agrees, making Sara happy. Realizing that Suzanne and Timothy are looking at her, Sara felt embarrassed while Rudeus realizes that she tactfully asks him into a date. In the morning, Rudeus and Sara went to stroll while eating fruits, then found themselves at Sword Foundry and Store. Sara picks a pair of matching swords and Rudeus pays them at the cashier. In the afternoon, they stroll a little more before deciding to have a drink in a nearby store. Sara stated that her breastplate was getting tightened lately. Rudeus contemplates the meaning of her words. After chugging his drink, he offers to walk her home, but Sara wants to talk longer. Suddenly, she asks if they can go to his room. Upon entering the room, Rudeus lights up a candle while Sara sits on his bed. Rudeus suggests a drink, but Sara asks him to sit beside her. Sara thanked him for saving her, and with a blush, she then offers him to do her. Rudeus lay her on the bed and kiss her while undressing. Then, he stops to undress himself. While making out, he realizes something amiss in between his legs. He contemplates for a minute. With a panicked face, he realizes his manhood does not wake at all. Rudeus is sweating frantically. Sara is furious while standing at the door, saying that she has done that just an obligation for saving her. Rudeus left shocked. He went to the bar to drown his problem. Suddenly, Sol appears with his party. He teased Rudeus for always running away from the problem, smiling, and waiting for someone to comfort him. He fiercely throws a punch, throwing Sol off the chair. Asking why he deliberately pissed and make fun of him, he punched him continuously. He tells him that he rather went around smiling than be like him, going around to brag himself and insult people, making them hate him and stay away from Sol. Remembering Eris, Rudeus asks nonchalantly why she has to leave him. He thinks that the ends for him, thus he asks Sol to hit him, then he bursts crying. One of Sol's party members told him to cut some slack on Rudeus. Sol apologizes and offers a drink with him to let his gut out. They talked and Rudeus confided to Sol being not able to get it up. Thus, Sara dumped him. Rudeus thought Sol would make fun of him. He urged Rudeus to tell him what might be the probable cause. He narrates that he was able to sleep with the girl he liked, but the next morning the girl is long gone. Sol suggests that it may be root in what happened to Eris and him being ditched after their first. Sol concludes that he may have screwed their first as being inexperienced. Thus, he brought Rudeus to a place to steam off and get experience. He went to a room where a lady standing facing back on him. She introduces herself as Elise and Rudeus did the same. Elise then tells him that he knows him, the one who cast a healing spell on his sister free of charge. Getting uneasy due to being clingy, he requested another cup of drink. Elise starts to touch him, thus he requested them to start. She instructed Rudeus to get in bed and he served him well. While Sol is boasting about his experiences in the battle to two young ladies, Elise and Rudeus came. He confesses to Sol that they did everything, but it turns out in vain. Elise suggests that Rudeus might be frightened of women, that's why he can't get to it, thus he needs someone who he feels certain and won't turn back from him. Sol asks if there is anyone that rings in his mind. Roxy popped into his mind, but he says that there was none, thinking it won't work. Sol offers him booze and they drink until morning. Elise wakes them in the morning as it is closing time. While walking, Sol advises him not to rush things, same as they should not rush in attacking enemies, for it will only bring damage. He told him that maybe he rushes things with Sara and that he should prepare emotionally. Rudeus says that they were quick indeed, but they did not go that far. He tells Sol that Sara has just done those things as an obligation. Sol explains that from the way he sees it, she's pretty into him. Rudeus was stunned. They continued to walk upstairs. Sol advises him to talk to her. Rudeus agrees, but he does not want being rushed. Maybe because of alcohol, thus he blurted that he doesn't care if it'll work or not, and that Alice buildup is like a child. Rudeus continuously yaps, saying that dinner and shopping are all kitty crap. Sol shocked, noticing Suzanne and Sara. Sol would like to stop Rudeus, but he won't stop. Not until he notices Sol looking at his back. Rudeus tries to explain while Sara steps forward. He slaps him fiercely and warned him not to appear in her sight again and throws her knife. Suzanne tells Rudeus that he is out of line. Rudeus kneel and hold the knife, intending to kill himself, but Sol is quicker. He urges Rudeus to run after Sara, but he can't, not knowing how he should explain. Soul suggests that he return to his home, but Rudeus told him that his family is in Milis continent. Realizing that the place is far, Soul drops it and offers to come with them in conquering the labyrinth. Rudeus asks him why he would help him to such lengths. Soul explains that he misunderstood Rudeus and why he smile and acts good all the time. Knowing what was in his heart, he no longer hates him. Rudeus then realizes that he also misunderstands Soul and that he is good more than he knows. In the end, he decided to go with him. Meanwhile, the two adventurers are gossiping about a mage who was able to take down a stray dragon. His name is Quagmire Rudeus. Ilinali's ears perks up and walk towards them to ask for more information. The adventurers cannot remember well the details of the rumor. Ilinalis then offers her body if they can remember more details. Thus, the two think hard. They then blurted that he is in Basharant's second city of Pippin. Ilinalis thanked them thinking she already found him. Rudeus and Soul Party is traversing the snow for a mission. Rudeus uses his magic to scout the area. He then announces that there are a pack of luster grizzlies heading towards them in a very fast motion. Rudeus uses his earth magic and traps them. It gives the opportunity to the party to attack the grizzles and slash them to death. Suddenly a red dragon appears. The dragon fly into rage and hits some adventurer. Soul orders them to retreat. Rudeus unsheathes his wand and makes smoke screen and let the party run. He jumps on its head and run on its back to the opposite direction. The dragon throws him a fireball, but Rudeus uses his wind and magic power. He was unfazed by the attack. He creates small boulder and attacks the dragon. The dragon dodges, but Rudeus was able to hit it, making him fall in his magic mud and smashed its head. The party rejoices upon seeing him beat the dragon. The other adventurer praises him and was convinced that he is indeed traveled the demon continent. Soul tells him that it's time to join his party. Rudeus declines, saying that after making his name, he have to move on the next country again. On his room, Rudeus thank his relics, which is Roxy's panty, for another day passed. In the morning, Rudeus do his routine exercise such as jogging, doing push-up and sit-ups and many more. Seeing his body improving, Rudeus is amazed. In the next scene, Rudeus is having his meal when he hears the man sing a story of how he took down a red dragon. Some of the listeners says that it is boring and ruining the liquor and that he should sing a different want. Suddenly, the doors open and Ilinalis walks in. He pointed Rudeus and states that she finally found him. Rudeus greet her, but she does not ring bells on him. Ilinalis told him that he is hard to miss, as she said, referring to Roxy. Ilinalis eyes him maliciously. She is attracted with his appearance. He asks her if something matters, but Ilinalis denies it and sat down. While the spectators do not know that Quagmire Rudeus has a woman, the three then sing a song for them. Ilinalis introduces herself as one of the members of Paul's party, his father, and now part of Roxy's party. Rudeus abruptly stand and down, asking where she is. Ilinalis says that those can wait, and whisper that he is strong for single-handedly a dragon. That's why Roxy is boasting him. Ilinalis touch his chest and Rudeus asks her if she has a thing for him. Ilinalis admits that he is manlier than she imagined. He held his chin and Ilinalis intends to give him a kiss while her hand is wandering. She then notices a pendant and asks him where he got it. He told him that it is from an old friend. Ilinalis showed him her pendant, which is quite similar to his. Thus, she asks him if his friend is an elf. Rudeus requests her not to tease him. She tells him that she does not want to be Paul's daughter-in-law and still be friends with Roxy. Rudeus asks her of her purpose for finding him, and that is to inform him of his mother's whereabouts. She also informs him that Roxy went to his father to inform about Zenith and that they might be already with Zenith at Begarit. Thus, he is worried anymore. In the next days, he realizes that Ilinalis is a sex addict and gets men into her room in no time flat. In the next scene, a lot of male teenagers were looking up. It turns out they are looking at Ilinalis's body. Rudeus is lying listening to Ilinalis moans next door, hoping he get aroused, but he is not. He therefore decided that he will not love anymore, just only touch and admire them, then face betrayal. In the next scene, Rudeus saw Ilinalis with Soul. The later explained that he's not making move on her. Rudeus explained that she is not his woman and it's nonsense since he could not get it up. He asks him how was it. Soul told him that she is the best. Thinking that she have slept with other guys in Soul's party, He advises her to clean after herself. While eating, Sol is continuously making move on Elenalis by holding her chest. Rudeus is contemplating how she was able to keep a harem of guys and still not get into trouble. Elenalis gave money to Sol as agreed and requested her not to get serious on her. Rudeus then concludes that it is a reverse prostitution. At stormy night, Rudeus is doing exercise when Elenalis gave him a letter. It is from Genius, Vice Principal of Ranoa University of Magic. He is inviting Rudeus to be a special student. Elenalis explains to him that special students are excused from tuition and lessons but can use the school's resources. In the morning he asks Conrad, who is also a former student of Ranoa University. He explains that the university is naturally reaching out to students with excellent magic or tons of mana. Thus, when the students get famous, it will be a good publicity for the school. Conrad realizes that Rudeus have not been in a school. The latter explains that he had private tutor. Conrad realizes his family must be well off. Rudeus explains that he is a Greyrit, a family that governed the Asura province. He then asks Rudeus what he is doing as a solo adventurer. Rudeus involuntarily cries as he is reminded of why he is all alone. Elenalis came and told him that he can go to the university, but Rudeus tells her that his priority is bringing back his family. Paul will bring back his family to Asura and he can just take a trip to see them. Opening his eyes, he saw the man god and tells him that he's been reaching for him to find Zenith but he is nowhere. The man god says that it is not also easy for him. He told Rudeus that he did not change much. He asks him if Roxy will be proud of him given his current situation. He will only regret if he is to go to Bigaret to meet Roxy. Rudeus asks him why he does not tell him. He then urges Rudeus to come to Ranoa University to study the cause of the mana teleportation, and he will gain his manly potency and pride. When he wakes up, he saw Elenalis' naked body lying beside him. When he checks himself, nothing was aroused. He intends to cover her body but she hugged him. In the morning, Rudeus together with Elenalis bids goodbye to Sol and his party. Sol acting tough saying that he just have exploited him and earned so much money. Sol told him that he will be in Ranoa in these days and they will drink and whoring again. And thus, he set to the kingdom of Ranoa. It turns out that Ranoa is full of different type of students from different nations and kingdoms, including the prince that he met, and Sylphie together with the princess she is looking for. In the next scene, Rudeus and Elenalis finally arrived at Kingdom of Ranoa. Elenalis is complaining for there are only a few men along their journey. Rudeus tells her that he will be meeting Genius in person. Thus, he asks Elenalis about her plan. She decided to join him because she got a liking for boys of his age. Along the journey, he discovers that she sleeps with boys because of her curse, otherwise it will kill her. The two went to the academy and saw various individuals along the way. Genius met them and did not expect to see Rudeus. They introduces themselves as well as Elenalis as Rudeus' party member. Genius calls Roxy's name casually, but Rudeus blabbers inwardly that it should be Ms. Roxy on him. He assumes that Rudeus intends to enroll. Rudeus explains that he wants to investigate and accomplish various things. While on the side, Elenalis is just playing with her hair. Genius invites him to participate in a test to which Rudeus agreed. While walking, Rudeus points out that there are a lot of buildings. Genius explains that they cater to non-magical disciplines as well. Rudeus silently asks him if they are studying mental illness. Genius tells him that not necessarily mundane, but they teach healing and detoxification as well as curses. Genius brought him into a room. He would like Rudeus to show his incantation-less magic. He introduces their silent caster as well. Sylphie, whose hair is already white, also known as Silent Fitz, came forward. Rudeus introduces himself. Fitz was shocked to see him. Genius tells them that it is a mock duel. Thinking that he has to pay for the tuition if he loses, Rudeus decided to go all out. Rudeus become in a trance upon seeing Fitz's wand, but Genius signals for the duel to begin. Rudeus foresees that she will use water magic. He uses his to dispel hers and sent sharp rocks on her way, making her fall. The magic circle instantly heals her. Okay? Fitz asks him how he was able to do that. Rudeus explains that it is a disturbed magic. Everyone is in shock. Rudeus thinks that he embarrassed an upperclassman, thus he approached Fitz and thanks him for letting him win. He whispers to him that he will repay him someday. In the next scene, Rudeus is changing into his uniform. He gets to know what exactly a special student. He is exempted from tuition and lessons and only needs to attend homeroom once a month, making him more of a researcher than a student. He then hears a knock. He proceeded to open the door and saw Illinois on her uniform. He advises her that he could attract more boys if she shortens the skirt. Elenalis thinks that she will get cold, thus Rudeus tells her to just wear stockings up in her thigh. In the next scene, they gathered in a hall. Princess Ariel of Asura Kingdom as President Council walks in together with Fitz and Luke. Elenalis teases Rudeus that Fitz is the one he made cry yesterday. Princess Ariel proceeded with her speech of welcoming the students and reminding them to be understanding towards one another, given that they are composed of different races. Hearing her speech as usual of abiding the rules implemented by the university, Rudeus was amazed it is not a boring one. He then concluded that she has charisma. The students applauded her. Rudeus went to his classroom and to find 3 persons sitting, only to be spotted by Prince Zanoba, who runs to him and lifts him with eagerness. Rudeus acknowledges him as his pupil and requested to be put down, afraid of his strength. Linnea, who is from the family of Cat, expresses her dislike toward Rudeus. Zanoba explains that Rudeus is his master he was talking about, but Linnea sternly requested Rudeus to come forward. Rudeus thinks that Zanoba is being bullied. He comes forward and introduces himself. He humbles himself and intends not to cross paths with her. Linnea Dedaldia introduces herself and states that his father is Jais, the chief of the Dolja village in the Great Forest. She is glad that Rudeus knows his place. Rudeus realizes that she is the daughter that Jais was talking about, but his attention is more on his skirt. Rudeus then shifts his attention to the one who is eating meat. Persona introduces herself and continues to eat her meat. Rudeus chooses his seat and sat down. The man sitting ahead of him calls his attention, thus he introduces himself. Cliff Grumware says his name with a title of magical genius. He then tells Rudeus his level of advancements in the combat spell, healing, detoxification, and divine magic. He points out that Rudeus is also swordman besides being a mage. He asks how he has known. Cliff said that Eris told him. Rudeus was shocked. He asks if Eris is in the school, but Cliff only sneers and sighs. Zanoba approaches Rudeus and explains that there is one more student who is Miss Silent. She is exempted from homeroom class and uses her time in the laboratory. Rudeus decides to familiarize himself with the school. He went to the infirmary, the training room for mage duels, and he eventually ended up in the huge library. He went to pick lots of books, not knowing where to start about the Fitoa teleportation incident. He came across Fitz along his way. He apologizes for their mock duel. Fitz learned that he is researching the Fitoa incident given that he and his family lives in that region, and that he was sent to the demon continent after the teleportation. Fitz was shocked upon hearing this. Rudeus told him that he is researching for his missing childhood friend, not knowing he is talking to her now. He can't tell her that he wants to cure his erectile dysfunction. She then advises him to read Animus Exploring the Teleporter Labyrinth to know more about teleportation. During the break, he was eating snacks with Zanoba. They are happily talking about making figurines together when Luke and his company went by. He stopped and Rudeus stands up to introduce himself. But Luke criticizes him for being forgetful and not knowing his name. Luke introduces himself as Luke Nodos Grerit. Rudeus realizes that he came from the same branch of the family as his father is from. Thus, it makes them cousins. He went home late in the afternoon and came across with flying white object, thus he catches. He then realizes that he is holding a panty, but a girl from behind shouted that he is an underwear thief. The other girls came and encircled him, then a she-gorilla landed. Rudeus explained himself, but the she-gorilla does not believe in him, seeing that he is holding Princess Ariel's underwear. The she-gorilla grabs his arm and intends to teach him a lesson when Fitz came. He explains that he was hanging it when it dropped and Rudeus only picked them. But the she-gorilla insisted to punish him since he is walking to a route exclusive for girls after sunset. Fitz explains that he is a new student and does not know the rules, but the she-gorilla still insisted that he is at fault. Fitz gets his wand and warns them to be in the infirmary. They leave Rudeus alone, but warned that she will be not nice next time. Fitz apologizes for causing trouble to Rudeus and heals his arm. Rudeus realizes that Fitz is a good man, thus he wants to give him the utmost respect. Rudeus thank him, but Fitz find it strange to be thanked by Rudeus. The next day, Rudeus starts the day early. He did his daily training routine and saw someone who was jogging early. After going back to his room, he practices his figurine making magic but seems a bit rusty. He eats breakfast and lunch with Zanoba and finds food in the cafeteria similar to Japanese foods. He saw Illinois doing her thing with a man. In the afternoon, he takes basic classes in divine, healing and magic barrier. In his free time, Rudeus do research on teleportation. But since teleportation is prohibited, he only finds a few useful books. At night, his daily routine is over. Holding a figurine, he realized that his sickness is still lacking progress. The next morning, Rudeus is in the library when Fitz came and asks to sit beside him. He inquires on the progress of his research, but Rudeus has nothing to say. He noticed that Fitz is also reading a book on teleportation. Fitz explained that one of his acquaintances is involved in the incident. Rudeus feels sorry for him. Although Fitz found out that he's alive, he's regretful of doing nothing for him. Rudeus listens to him sympathetically, not knowing he is the acquaintance Fitz is talking about. Suddenly, Fitz shyly offers him in researching teleportation. Rudeus gladly accepts the offer and shake hands with him, making Fitz smile. Rudeus on the other hand is wondering why he feels like he has a thing for Fitz, but he concludes that he's just imagining things. In the afternoon, the two walk toward their dorm. Rudeus asks Fitz why he always wears sunglasses, but Fitz only told him that he has his reason. Thus, Rudeus does not inquire further. He asks which floor his room is. Fitz explained that he sleeps in the girls' dormitory because he is guarding Princess Ariel and has permission to do so. Rudeus remarks that he is pretty normal, unlike what he hears that he is a man of a few words. Fitz states that he is a bit shy. Rudeus inquires if he has learned incantation-less magic since childhood. Fitz told him that he was rescued by his master and he requested to learn from him. Rudeus was amazed and requests to meet his master, but Fitz states that it might not work. Rudeus asks why, but Fitz only smiles at him. His heart thumps. Knowing that he does not swing the other way, Rudeus is puzzled. Fitz bid goodbyes to him. Rudeus remembers that the human god tells him to enroll at the university and he eventually meets Fitz. He believes that by staying with him, his sickness will be cured. At night, Zanoba begs to teach him how to make figurines. Rudeus's mind went to the scene when he was holding a figurine and went to Zanoba, only to find him being intimate with one. But still, he understands where he is coming from. Zanoba still begs him. He kept on delaying him because he has other priorities and cannot find inspiration. In the end, he decided to teach him. They start the training and do so day and night. But every time Zanoba tries to make one, it is pointless. He could make anything. Rudeus offers him another way to make a figurine. He created a block of clay and started to carve using his bare hands. With newfound hope, Zanoba proceeded to make a figurine but ended up with broken clay. He cries mournfully, being not able to carve like his master Rudeus. In the next scene, Rudeus tells Fitz what had happened to Zanoba. He demonstrated making figurines and Fitz do so, but either her could not make one. Fitz told him that there is a similar case in the kingdom of Asura. Rudeus asks him how they solved the problem. Fitz told him that they let a slave do it. Rudeus agrees, and lets Zanoba know it, planning they will go into the slave market by the break next month. Fitz shyly states that he is free by that time. Rudeus was not quick to realize what he means, but upon realization, he immediately asks him if he wants to join them. Fitz gladly agrees. After a month, Fitz introduces himself to Zanoba. Zanoba changes his attitude and politely introduces himself. Fitz was embarrassed by his politeness. They proceeded to go to the slave market and saw various things along the way. Since they are new in the slave market, they decided to browse. Fitz stopped and saw that they are naked. He notices how big a man's masculinity is. Rudeus thought that he is a virgin. Fitz asks Rudeus, given that he looks to be used to that scenario. He told Fitz that he will be so once he gains experience. Fitz asks him if he has experience. Zanoba suddenly talked to Rudeus, thus he was not able to answer Fitz. Rudeus told Zanoba that dwarfs are known for their dexterity. Fitz suggests that they should choose a young dwarf who does not know magic. It will be easier to teach her incantationless magic and his mana capacity to be well built. Rudeus realizes that could be the reason why he never felt insufficiency of mana. He started casting at age 2 or 3. They asked the merchant for a young dwarf. The merchant looks at the list and found a 6-year-old dwarf girl. She is malnourished but needs feeding, and also cannot speak human. Thus, the merchant does not recommend her, but they insist on seeing her. They went to the basement and Rudeus saw other slaves. The merchant drags the young dwarf, making her chain choke her. Fitz quickly went and healed her. Rudeus approached the young dwarf and talked to her in her language, but he was answered with nothing. Thus, the merchant wants to hit her but Rudeus stops him. He says that she has the look that longs for death. Zanoba asks his master if he has seen those eyes. Rudeus replied many times a long time ago. Realizing that it is pointless as already experienced it, he asks her if he wants to die and if he will end it for her. The young dwarf told him that she does not want to die. Rudeus put his coat on her. He thought that not wanting to die is enough. In the next scene, they bring the young dwarf to have a meal. She appeared to be starving. Fitz asks Rudeus of her name, thus he asks the dwarf in her language. She told him that she is called a child of Bazaar of the Holy Steel and Lilitella of the beautiful Snow Ridge. Fitz remembers dwarfs not having a proper name until they turn 7. They decided to give her a name. Zanoba suggests Julius, the name of his brother he has killed because of his strength. Rudeus suggests it make it Juliet since she is a girl. Zanoba willingly agrees. Rudeus told the dwarf that her name will be Juliet, but the girl could only pronounce Julie. Julie lives with Zanoba and helps him. During the day, Rudeus teach him human language and incantationless magic, and slowly they make progress. In the morning, upon waking up, Sylphie washes her face and stretches to prepare for her morning routine. She almost forgot her cap and decided to turn back. She was always in disguise even in her morning run. He would run around the Sharia, the capital in the kingdom of Ranoa. This enables her to be familiar with the layout of the city and determine her limits. She thinks Rudeus will do the same if he is in her shoes. In the classroom, Sylphie, who now is Fitz, is bored of the magic lesson as Rudeus taught those when they were young. Princess Ariel asks him how the spell lesson works. Seeing her diligence, he was happy and drew Rudeus' face. In the afternoon, Fitz together with Princess Ariel and Luke passed through a secret passage that Fitz has discovered in the morning. Luke explained that Sharia City is built like a maze given that it is vulnerable to invasion. Princess Ariel jokes that he's taking the lesson seriously. Luke told him that he was just quoting what they had said. Princess Ariel advises him to be careful in playing in the field, but Luke tells her that he cannot help since he has a Notice blood. Fitz realizes that Rudeus came from the Notos family too. Thus he expects that he will be just Luke and Paul his father. He helplessly sighs. At night, Fitz was lying on the bed thinking about how he had thought of Rudeus lately. She's wondering what relationship she wants with him. Realizing her answer, she shyly tucks herself. Rudeus taught Julie incantation less magic. Zanoba thought that he could not make it, but Julie was able to pull it off in just a month. He thought that only figurines matter to Zanoba, but he is taking care of Julie well. They never thought of branding Julie. For him, she is just another disciple while a junior disciple for Zanoba. At night Zanoba teaches Julie how they should appreciate Rudeus' work. They inspect one of his works, the Rudeus figurine. He explains to Julie how magnificent the figurine is when Rudeus approaches him and asks him about the Roxy figurine. Zanoba instantly flinched and sweated. He told him that he left it in the Shiron kingdom. Rudeus does not buy it. So, Zanoba confesses that he has it, and Rudeus requests for it to see. Zanoba opens the box shaking and panting. Seeing the broken figurine, Rudeus demanded Zanoba to explain himself. Sensing the bad situation, Julie quietly hides behind Zanoba's back. Rudeus thought that he was disrespecting Roxy. Zanoba quickly explained that he had a duel with Doldia girls, Linnea and Persina. They challenged him and wagered something important to them. Julie went to pat Zanoba's back. He cried for forgiveness from Rudeus, but he smiled creepily and told him that he must told him sooner. Rudeus contemplates how mean the girls are and that they should teach them a lesson. Zanoba was shocked but agreed. In the afternoon, Linnea and Persina are walking home when they see Zanoba and Rudeus standing. Linnea asks about their intention and Persina concludes that they are looking for a fight. Linnea ridicules Zanoba for bringing a scrawny freshman. Zanoba snobs her, and Linnea threatens to smash his other doll. Rudeus stops Zanoba and states that Linnea and Persina should be the ones to be embarrassed by ganging up on people and that they cannot stand alone. Linnea warns him not to talk and stay in the corner, and they will not bother him, and he should pick a fight with someone else. Rudeus criticizes her and the beasts for not speaking a decent human language. Linnea, a hot-headed one, gets mad and intends to attack them while Persina uses her voice. Rudeus sees through them and orders Zanoba to get Persina. Rudeus uses a hand to stop Linnea, and with a swift move is able to bring her down, noticing that she's wearing white underwear. Zanoba is running after Persina. Rudeus uses his power to stop her and flick with a stone. Julie comes out and they tie the two Doldia girls. When they opened their eyes, they were captive by Rudeus. He intends to test his erectile dysfunction and grab Persina's breast, but after a while his manhood is still silent. Rudeus explained that they had smashed the figurine and that they were in that situation. He explains that the figurine is a model of her goddess. He brought the altar where he stored Roxy's thing, her underwear. Everyone is astonished at the sight. Persina defends herself and tells him that Linnea is the one who stomped the figurine. Linnea retaliates. The two continue to argue about who has the bigger fault. Rudeus stops them and thinks of how should they punish them. Linnea scolded him that his father would retaliate if he tried funny things with them. Rudeus remembers how he was falsely accused by the Dolja clan, stripped naked, doused with water, and thrown in a prison cell. The two flinched upon hearing this. Linnea appeals to do anything just not to be punished like that, while Persina wishes to be spared and just punish Linnea. Rudeus told them that in order to be forgiven, they must repair the Roxy figure. They cheered Roxy's figure, and Zanoba states that even Rudeus cannot repair the figurine. This rings a bell to Rudeus. He could fix the figurine if he wanted, thus it left him not knowing what to do with the Doldia girls. In the morning, Rudeus explained the situation to Fitz. He realizes that they locked the two girls. Rudeus explains that they did nothing sexual to them, only groping their breasts to confirm something. He asks Fitz for advice on how to punish them without leaving them a reason to revenge. Fitz thinks for a while and concludes with a suggestion. At night, when they visit the girls, they are already soiled themselves. They appeal to be not tied and fed, and they won't try to escape. Persina promises not to bite nor howl, just feed her with meat. Rudeus and Fitz look at each other and decided to help the Dolja girls. Linnea promised to do anything he wants except making babies, while Persina offers Linnea's breast to Rudeus. Linnea agrees, but stop upon realization. Rudeus helplessly sigh. Persina plead to go to eat dried meat. Linnea agrees, but her tone is a bit arrogant. Fitz scolded them, but they retaliate that it is not his business. Rudeus angers upon seeing how they treat Fitz and orders them to sit down. The two ended with paint in the face. Fitz warns them that it can be permanent with his incantation. The two frightens. Fitz reminds them to not remove the paint in a day. Before going out, Linnea asks Rudeus how he managed to track their movements. He answers that it is due to his master's teachings. Linnea asks the name of his master. Rudeus contemplates that Ghislaine is the one who teach him swordsmanship, thus he spills the name. Linnea asks if it is Sword King Ghislaine of the Doldia Kingdom, which Rudeus agrees. They realize that it is indeed Linnea's aunt. The two jump out from the window. Rudeus asks Fitz about the paint and worries that someone might do the incantation. Fitz confesses that it is all bluff. The paint is nothing but ordinary. Fitz notices the cabinet where he keeps Roxy's underwear and intends to open it. Rudeus acts quickly and offers to look on anything else. Fitz notices his fellow that rattles and decided to lie down on it. Rudeus is thinking to remove his sunglasses. Fitz asks if he wants to see his face. Rudeus agrees and anticipates, but turns out that Fitz is only bluffing. He explains that Princess Ariel's forbids her to show his face. He then abruptly decided to leave. Rudeus ended contemplating on what will happen if he saw his face. In the next scene, Cliff is reading a book while Linnea is scolding Rudeus to get away his hands from her skirt. She taunts him being her an irresistible beauty. Persina tries to explain for Rudeus. Hearing all the noise, Cliff scolding them to go out because he cannot concentrate. Linnea retaliates while Rudeus apologizes and requested Linnea to sit down. He snobs them and sit down. In the afternoon, he's walking home when he noticed a figure in the window. He was captivated by the scene. Rudeus notices that the students are bullying someone. He approached them and someone recognizes him as the Quagmire. He calls them coward for fighting against one. They give the place and he notices that it is Cliff who they bully. Cliff snaps at him but eventually thanked Rudeus. He wonders why he hates him in the first place. The next day, all is nothing but ordinary except that Alice is being watched secretly by someone. Cliff confesses to Rudeus that he likes a girl. Rudeus thought that he asks him to send love letters or practice confessing. He points at the window the girl he likes. Rudeus was shocked seeing who it is. Cliff insists that her name suits her and that being an adventurer, he knows magical combat. He told Rudeus that the guys from yesterday is spreading scandalous rumor that Illinois sleep with any boy in town. Well, Rudeus agrees inwardly. It turns out that Cliff wants to be introduced to Illinois by Rudeus. In the library, Rudeus seeks advice from Fitz after narrating Cliff's confession. He told him that the girl he likes has personal issues. Fitz reveals that he likes someone and thus he understands Cliff. Rudeus thought that it is Princess Ariel that he likes. In the end, Fitz advised him to introduce them and let them figure out the rest, which Rudeus agrees on. In the afternoon, Alice is surprised to see Rudeus. He asks him who is his companion. Cliff stands straight as Rudeus introduces him. He gives his courtesy, then Illinois introduces herself and inquire on his purpose of meeting her. He professes how he admires her and requests to consider a personal relationship with him. Alice grabs Rudeus and asks him how much, thinking that he wants to pimp the Cliff. Rudeus told her that he just introduced him as per his request. Alice thought that it would be a problem to know serious boy like Cliff given her condition. Rudeus told her that she can just turn him down but she should be as truthful as possible. She walks toward Cliff while Rudeus decided to leave. Cliff thanked him and he closed the room. The next morning, Rudeus dropped his bag due to shock. Cliff and Alice reveals that they decided to become a couple, and Cliff will help her to lift her course, and they kiss in front of him. The town is in festive season while the Beastmen and Beastwoman are dueling. They are in heat, and the duel is like marriage proposal. The winner will lead the family. In their room he found letter from Linnea and Persina that they are not leaving the girls' dorm, and that the rest is up to him. In the hall, he saw a blue-haired girl and hears a Beastman challenging him in a duel. He covers his butt thinking that the Beastman came for him. The Beastman stopped him saying that Lady Persina informed him that he is the boss of her pack. Thus, it is duty accept challengers. The Beastman ended up on the floor. Fitz came to him at the library asking why he has many challengers. He tells him that they consider him the boss of Linnea and Persina pack. Whoever beats him can marry either the two princesses. Fitz points out that there is one girl in the queue line. He asks him if she is cute. Fitz leaves realizing Rudeus is showing his Noto side. He follows him only to see purple six-handed man holding a Beastman. It turns out that they want to be first in queue line but they told him that he needs to defeat them to be able to do so. He saw the eye of foresight. Thus, he recognizes that he is Rudeus. His fiancée Kishirisu spoke greatly of Rudeus so he wants to challenge him. The two ended up surrounded by students while waiting for Rudeus' staff. Badigadi, the purple six-handed one, thought that humans are always hasty but Rudeus is always composed. Maybe the reason why his fiancée think great of Rudeus. Badigadi told Rudeus to sit. He told him that Kishirika have called him marvelous than Laplace, and his mana is one of the greatest. But he informed him that training alone cannot rival Laplace. Rudeus makes him promise not to attack him before asking a question. He asks Badigadi if he knows Hitagami, the man god. He asks him how does he knows him and he confessed that through his dreams. Badigadi thinks before blurting out that he does not know him and laughing. He encourages Rudeus to laugh with him. Suddenly, Fitz arrived running holding his staff. After unsheathing his staff, he requested Badigadi to spare his life even if he lost. Badigadi found it funny that he is begging for his life despite of all his mana. He stops laughing after hearing Rudeus that the dragon god nearly killed him. Badigadi then proposes a condition. With one strike of his mightiest blow, he must wound him in order to win. If not, then he'll lose. Rudeus thinks before agreeing. Rudeus concentrates his power and make a sharp steel boulder. He adds speed with his mana to strengthen its impact. The crowd including Fitz is standing still. He asks Badigadi to be ready before unleashing his strike. A thick smoke appears and Badigadi's half-body fly a meter. Rudeus was shocked that he might be dead and look at the crowd. Suddenly he hears Badigadi, who is now appears smaller, laughs. His body parts assembles and he returned to his bigger physique. He holds his arm and declared him the winner. Then he reminded him that it is his turn and punches him hard. In the next scene, Fitz is healing Rudeus' swollen face. After thanking him, Fitz reminded him to take rest and leaves. He lays on bed thinking how rough the day after dueling with Beast and Badigadi. Comforting himself that he will not see him again, he sleeps. Winter came and in heat period ends, thus Linnea and Persina are in the room. They thought that Badigadi is also duel with Rudeus for them. Persina then offers Linnea's breast to Rudeus as thank you gift, which ears him scratches on his face. Then they hear laughter and makes everyone sit still, only to find Badigadi on the in front after passing through the roof. Later on, Fitz together with Princess Ariel and Luke are walking in the alley when Rudeus and Persina appear. Noticing their attachment, Fitz thinks that Rudeus like her, thus, he feels depressed and bumps. In their student council office, Princess Ariel notes how Fitz turns every time Rudeus passed. Fitz admits that he does not tell him yet, which shocks the two. Luke asks Princess Ariel what should they do. She calls Sylphie in her name and advised her that he can use the name Fitz in whichever way she sees fit. Rudeus is in the library studying teleportation techniques. The deeper he studied, the more summoning and teleportation became similar. Yet, there are still differences, such as the summoning of Is cannot be done with people. He approaches Fitz to ask someone expert on summoning. Fitz told him that he knew one whom he might already know the name. He heard Silent 7 Star was the one that improved the dining menus, invented the uniform, and blackboard, which are all from his world. On the other hand, Silent 7 Star is humming peacefully. He decided to see her. Upon walking up the stairs, he knocks on a door and hears the voice to come in. He was shocked at the sight. After realizing who she is, he remembers how he was killed and ran with much panic. In his memory, he recalls how he was stabbed with Orsted. Silent 7 Star tells how impolite to run after seeing someone, and then Rudeus collapses. He gained consciousness and saw Fitz. He told Fitz that he had a nightmare where a white masked woman killed him. He then saw the woman he was talking about. Silent 7 Star asks what he is afraid of. She saved him last time, but he might already forget because he was dead at that time. Rudeus fearfully asks where Orsted, but Silent 7 Star says it will take a while before he comes for him, and that he might kill him depending on his action. Fitz asks her how he knows Rudeus and why he is so afraid of her. She answered that he may remember what Orsted had done to him. She asks him 3 questions. One is if he recognizes the name written on the piece of paper. The second is if he knows her language. And last is who he is among the 2 names written. Rudeus told her that he is neither the two. That shocks Fitz to hear his foreign language. Silent 7 Star removes her mask and introduces herself as Nanahoshi Shizuka from Japan. He remembers her face as the same as the girl who is about to be hit by the truck. She asks him his name. And Rudeus replies with Rudeus Greyret. She knows that it is his alias in that world and she cannot blame him after what happened. She promises that she is on his side and encourages him to work together in order to get to their world. Rudeus explains that he does not want to go back. After a while, Fitz requested the 2 to speak in a language he could understand. Nanahashi puts on her mask and explains that she does not have an interest in their new world. Rudeus told her that he was born as a baby and has family and friends in this world. She asked how he ended up there and he answered that it was a traffic incident. While Nanahashi is narrating to Rudeus how she ended up in Orsted protection, Fitz stands up and sees the foreign writings. She asked Orsted to spare his life because he seemed different. Rudeus asks why Ochersted and Hitagami are enemies, but Nanahashi does not know. Nanahashi told him that she traveled around the world for a year using a teleportation circle. Someone she met told her that she must have been summoned by someone in that world. She added that they are irregularities of that world, and changing its course of history might cause them to be deleted from that world. Nanahashi is using the academy library for her research but ends up with nothing. Everything has mana, even the carcass of animals, but she has nothing. She also finds out that she is not aging but Rudeus is otherwise. After sitting, she proposes a partnership with him given that they have one objective, to understand the teleportation technique. Rudeus has mana that she needs while she has information that Rudeus wants. Rudeus agrees and Nanahoshi reminds him that there is no backing down after. She mentions that he is researching mass teleportation and Rudeus asks how she knows. They remember Fitz's presence and Rudeus asks to talk in the local language. She's wearing rings while saying that the teleportation might be caused by her. Fitz is mad and throws her magic but repels by her. She hysterically throws a fit while Nanahoshi asks for help. Rudeus holds Fitz and says that Nanahoshi is also a victim. Fitz calmed down and Nanahoshi apologized for phrasing it that way. Fitz also apologized for attacking her. Nanahoshi explains that even Orsted does not know what happened in mass teleportation. As Rudeus and Nanahoshi continue to talk, Fitz is cleaning her mess. Nanahoshi told him that he could answer what triggered the teleportation if she succeeded in her research. In the afternoon, while walking home, Fitz asks Rudeus what he thinks of Nanahoshi. Rudeus answers that he will trust her for now. Rudeus then thanks Fitz for worrying about him but Fitz denies before eventually agreeing. The next day, Princess Ariel is talking with Fitz saying that she does not expect Alice and Cliff to end up together. Rudeus saw Fitz and waved at him. He realizes that Rudeus is waving at him as Fitz, and he noticed that Rudeus and Nanahoshi are emotionally close. At the library, Fitz misses Rudeus' presence and doesn't know what to do. Rudeus is doing her morning routine while Badigadi on the side asks him why he sought strength. He told him that many sought because of might and strength while there are more worthwhile. Rudeus asks what it is and Badigadi answers, women. Rudeus asks him if he knows a cure for impotence but he answers with no. While walking in the alley, two beastmen saw him and became afraid, thus pretending that they were looking at the weather. While pondering he saw Goliath but she avoided him. Then he saw Linnea and Persina, who quarreled about being number 2. They encourage Rudeus to beat Fitz and be the number 1 on the campus, but Rudeus disagrees. In the room, Cliff asks him if he learned something about curses. He told him the story of how Laplace used objects to transfer his curse to the Superb tribe and they ended up killing each other. Cliff is shocked and gets the attention of the teacher. He thanks Rudeus, but gets too happy and loud and once again gets noticed by the teacher. At lunch, Rudeus hears how he was being the topic saying that he defeats a special student and the Demon King in one shot. Ignoring them, they saw Badigadi and he sat with them. Julie notices his drink and tells Zanoba that it looks delicious. Badigadi happily gives some to them. Rudeus reminds Zanoba that he still has class and should not drink, thus only Julie and Badigadi drink. In the next scene, Rudeus uses his mana to activate the summoning circle drawn by Nanahoshi. He was able to summon a feather but Nanahoshi told him that it failed. He inquired about the purpose of the experiment, and she told him that it was to summon a person from another world. She hopes that to summon someone will enable her to send him back. Rudeus thought it was very dangerous, just like the teleportation incident. She states that she is starting with the basics and hopes to prove her theories, thus it will not be risky to perform a summoning. Rudeus told her that he wanted to learn summoning too. Nanahoshi told him that he will eventually learn all her research once she goes home. He drops a book on his head and told him to do own research if he badly wants to know. After dinner, he taught Julie magic and then carve figures. Although she is young and still have little mana, she is good with her hands, although a bit rough. She falls asleep instantly while Rudeus is pointing the details. At night, he's reading the book when he thought that he hasn't been with Fitz lately. One day, he receives a letter from Soldat, his old friend, saying that he will be in the Sharia and wants to eat together. Rudeus saw Soldat party member. They meet up together with Alice and Cliff and have a good conversation. Sol then points out why Alice has a boyfriend now. Alice told him that Cliff had won her heart. Suddenly, one of his members informed him that there will be another meeting. He was complaining but still bids goodbye to Rudeus. Rudeus asks them of their plan. Alice told him that she'll have a short adventure with Cliff and asks Rudeus to join. Cliff instantly declares that he won't rely on him. Thus, he decided to go back to school and reminded Alice to go easy having a beginner with her. She jokingly states that Cliff is not like him who will challenge a dragon or demon king. He walks around the area and spotted Fitz and Luke. He walks to them to say hello, but feel that Luke does not like him still. He notices that something is amiss with Fitz, but Luke shielded him and asks his purpose. He realizes that he came at a bad time and thought they are on a date. Luke added that Fitz cannot speak while on duty. Shock of Fitz's ignorance of him, he decided to move forward, thinking how hurt of being ignored by Fitz. While walking in the snow, he was thinking why Fitz does not want to talk to him, but he cannot find reason. He went to his classroom, but Zanoba might be in other class. He wanders through the academy, but he could not find suitable one to convey his feelings. He stands up and decided to distract himself with books. There he found Fitz, who happily greeted him. He instantly asks him why he ignored him. He explained that he cannot speak while guarding Princess Ariel. He is silent Fitz after all. Rudeus retaliate that he did not saw the Princess Ariel, but Fitz explained that she is in the nearby store. Rudeus apologizes for talking in his inconvenient time. Rudeus thought that the Fitz he saw was Princess Ariel herself, and talking with him will blow her cover, and decided to believe in his make truth. At night, Rudeus is making figurines when he accidentally shapes it as woman by thinking of how thoughts of Fitz stay on him. The way he scratches behind her ear, the way he stretches when he finishes work, the smell of air when he passes, and the way he smiles. In the morning, group of students are watching as Princess Ariel walk by. Fitz saw Rudeus, but realizing that he is falling for him, he walks away. Then, he started to think if Fitz is actually a man. He went to Professor Genius to ask, but he is not allowed to talk to, but he told him that Fitz is a man. Rudeus thought that the professor is hiding the truth. At the library, Rudeus is thinking if he will ask him out if he turns out to be a woman. Suddenly Fitz came to him that shocks him. He ended up holding his waist while he is on top of him. He discovers and blurted out that Fitz is actually a woman. She denies it and run away. Rudeus concludes that she is covering as a man, but most importantly, his little man stood up. He decided that he will still treat Fitz as a man and could not get intimate with her. He touches his little man, but to no avail. His way still long to go. In the next scene, Rudeus is sleepy walking at the corridor, thinking why his buddy did not seem to care although he is thinking about Fitz. He then saw Luke, who wants to talk to him about Fitz. He told him that he know nothing, but he is not convinced. He told him that he know nothing on them and won't oppose them. Luke asks why he will feign ignorance for them. He simply told him that he cut ties with Boreas and Nodos and afraid to challenge him then ran away. In the room, Princess Ariel told Fitz how Rudeus approach him while she is disguised as him and do shopping, and how Rudeus tackle Fitz and he shouted that he is a man. Despite all of these, Rudeus is willing to keep Fitz secret. Princess Ariel asks Fitz what he will do now. She added that she is tired of watching him dither and asks her to work up his courage to reveal her true self. Princess Ariel advises him to do what he wants and leave him, but Fitz answered that it will be betrayal. But Princess Ariel told him that he is not her servant but a friend. She asks him what he wants to do. Fitz thinks deeply before answering that he wants to be with Rudy, in which Princess Ariel agrees. They then plan on how Fitz should tell Rudeus his identity. Princess Ariel asks him of their most memorable encounter, and that it when Rudeus saved him from bullies. Another one is when they had soaked with rain and Rudeus thought Siffy was a boy and put her panties down. At night, Princess Ariel asks Fitz what relationship she wants with Rudeus. Fitz answers them that she wants to share bed with him, and he narrates coquettishly their intimacy, which earns awkwardness to Princess Ariel and Luke. Princess Ariel call her attention and inform her that the plan is dependent on her, and if he fails, Princess Ariel will forbid her from meeting Rudeus. Then she explains the plan. In the morning, Fitz went to look for Rudeus and saw him at the dining table. He privately talks to him, saying that Princess Ariel is frustrated because a noble bragged about their bodyguard. The noble bodyguards of 4 could fetch freeze fringe flower that only blooms in the deep of the forest of hail. Princess Ariel boasted that Fitz could have the flower with a smaller group. Rudeus offers to talk to some adventurers and find the flower for them. Fitz disagrees, saying that he must show his capability and must do it himself, or else he will lose face if Princess Ariel found out. Rudeus answered him that capability comes in many forms, even in connections. He offers to call the stepped leader party and pretend that they are coincidentally in the forest during their mission. Fitz hardly rejects the offer and asks Rudeus to go with him instead, which Rudeus agrees. In the morning, the two proceed out in the forest. Fitz asks if he should pay Rudeus as adventurer. Rudeus declines and jokingly says that he does not come cheap. Thinking of buying him with his money, Fitz becomes shy and bump with him. Rudeus uses magic to melt through the thick storm. While walking, Fitz complimented his wand and asks where he get it. Rudeus answered that a young noblewoman whom he tutored gifted it to him. Fitz requested to hold his wand and Rudeus lent it to him. He whispers red tower to his ring and thick clouds formed. Rudeus decided to clear the sky with his magic while Fitz concentrated his magic to counter Rudeus and makes rain. Rudeus apologizes to Fitz, who was now panting from using magic, apologizes for not able to clear the sky. Soon, it rains and they run to take shelter and found a cave. While unpacking his things, Rudeus thought that someone has controlled the rain, maybe from the party of the other noble. He wonders if Fitz pick it up as well. He dries his clothes and thinks how he should dry his underwear as well. Upon looking at Fitz, he saw him shivering. He told him to dry herself and her clothes while he will turn around. Few seconds passed, but he does not feel any movement. He offers to make a private room for him so he could dry himself and turn around, but Fitz grabbed his hand. He told him that he will die of cold unless Rudeus undress him. After a second of silence, Rudeus agrees to help him. Rudeus informed him that he knows she is a woman, but Fitz told him he might die if he will not undress him. He carefully removes her clothes and notices her blushing ears, which seems familiar. While undressing her, he realizes that the situation is a bit familiar. When he removes her eyeglasses, he was shocked and asks him if her real name is Sylphiette. She answers yes and hug him while crying and confessing that she is his childhood friend from Buena Village. He pats her head and remembers how crybaby she was. She confesses how she have loved him and how it deepens even more. Later on, while it is still raining, Rudeus is still surprised that Fitz is actually Sylphie. He remembers Sylphie as a crybaby while Fitz is always level-headed. He remembers how Fitz shyly smiles. Rudeus decided to tell her how he felt afraid of losing her again. Sylphie is astonished and cries hearing his feelings, and Rudeus kisses her. He lays her down and asks if it is her first time. Then Rudeus was shocked. His manhood was still unresponsive. After that, Rudeus apologizes to Sylphie for embarrassing her and explains that he has been like that for 3 years. Sylphie asks him to stop being formal and that she does not feel embarrassed. Rudeus thanked her for giving the pendant, which Sylphie thought was long gone. Rudeus asks her why she has to disguise herself as a boy. She explains that when he was abducted to be sent away, she attacked Paul and promised herself to be stronger and save him. He practiced magic and spells and studied etiquette under Lilia to catch up to him and earn his praise. In the morning, she continued her story while they were walking, on how she ended up meeting Princess Ariel and Luke and how they round up at the Ranoa University. Rudeus apologizes for not recognizing her sooner. Out of his desire, he licks her ear. It is already dark when they arrive at the university and bid their goodbye. In the morning, Sylphie went to see Princess Ariel and Luke. Princess Ariel already assumed that their plan had failed, while Luke told her to stay calm and tell them how was the plan. Sylphie narrates to them what happened, including why Rudeus went to the university. Princess Ariel chuckles upon hearing that he is not able to get it up when it matters the most. Luke objected, saying that it naturally happens sometimes and that he understood why he remained submissive all this time. He expresses his empathy towards Rudeus. Princess Ariel apologizes for speaking too strongly. Luke does not expect to understand easily those man things. He asks Sylphie if he wants to cure Rudeus' ailment. Sylphie agrees adamantly. Luke excuses himself, intending to get something to give to Sylphie. Princess Ariel apologizes again for misspeaking and tells Sylphie that she knows the cure for impotence. On the other hand, Zanoba is trying her best to practice incantation-less magic, in which Persina requests him to make meat. Luke arrives in awkward moments where Princess Ariel is teaching her how to bear her shoulders, pretending she's drunk and feels hot. He added that Sylphie has the look for it and Rudeus will surely fall for it. Luke interrupted them, saying that only fools will bare their skin in the middle of winter and Sylphie is lacking feminine wiles. Sylphie was shocked and Princess Ariel comforted her and reprimanded Luke. But Luke stated that Greyrits are drawn to buxom women for generations and as a matter of fact, he does not feel any attraction towards Sylphie. He then handed Sylphie a bottle containing aphrodisiac. He explains that it was compounded in Fidoa, but the manufacturer was gone due to mass teleportation that caused the price to soar high. He wants to sell it to raise funds in case of emergency. Despite these, he freely gives the bottle to Sylphie. He warns her that he might want to drink some if she thinks she cannot keep up, and her first might not be as sweet as she envisioned. She thanked Luke for his kindness. Princess Ariel gives her monthly spending to Sylphie to show her support, and Sibley gladly accepts. At night Sylphie went to Luke wearing the new underwear that Princess Ariel had picked. Rudeus welcomes her in and she makes sure to lock the door. Rudeus thought she would take rest but Sylphie answered that she would stay the night at his place. Rudeus was taken aback upon hearing. Sylphie saw a figurine model of herself and smiled. Sylphie offers to celebrate their reunion with a drink but realizes she did not bring cups. The two toasted a drink but Sylphie got choked because of strong alcohol. Rudeus offers to dilute her drink with hot water. Sylphie then remembers how Rudeus used warm water to clean her when she was being bullied, and the tree they used to meet. They happily recall their childhood memories with that big tree in Buna village. Sylphie gave the aphrodisiac to Rudeus saying it is a medicine to cure his erectile dysfunction. Rudeus was thinking where he had seen the bottle. It was actually the same aphrodisiac he saw when he was training Eris. Sylphie told him that it would work immediately while removing his polo shirt. Rudeus was thinking if it was safe to drink the said medicine with alcohol. Sylphie told him not to hold back and grab the bottle from Rudeus and have her shot, then drink some alcohol. After a while, Sylphie is profusely sweating and looks in Rudeus's direction. Suddenly, Rudeus grabbed her hand making her stand up. He hugs her and lets her feel his desire. Sylphie gives him permission to dig in. She was then thrown to his bed. In the morning, Rudeus saw the things from last night and the students playing outside. He then remembers that the bottle is the aphrodisiac hawking by the peddler back in Roa. He checked the bed to see the remnant of their night. He thought that Sylphie was gone, as what Eris had done to him. He then hears footsteps and sees Sylphie who explains where she has been. He hugs her tight and cries on her shoulder. Sylphie realizes her actions and comforts him. Rudeus grabs her breast and realizes that he was cured and thanks Sylphie while crying. In the next scene, Rudeus is kneeling down before Princess Ariel. He thanked Princess Ariel and Luke for helping Sylphie to cure his condition. Thus, he would like to offer assistance in anything he could for them. Luke thought that he did not want to take part in any power struggle issues. Rudeus was still true to his word, but if Sylphie was caught in one, that changes everything. Sylphie blushes. Princess Ariel asks about his plan. Rudeus answers that he is finding his family members caught in the mass teleportation and cannot set to Asura yet. Princess Ariel voices out that he will set out on a journey and will leave Sylphie behind. Rudeus thinks for a while before saying that he will marry Sylphie. Luke was shocked while Princess Ariel was glad. She called Sylphie as Sylphie Greyrat and the latter was shocked and embarrassed. Princess Ariel asks her plan, but Luke gently pushes her forward. Sylphie shyly told Rudeus to take good care of him. Princess Ariel told Sylphie to embrace her femininity and no longer need to dress as a man. She told Rudeus that she would use her reputation and he could use her name as well. Sylphie gave back the sunglasses she had been wearing to Princess Ariel, went to Rudeus' side, and thanked them.
If you've enjoyed this so far, drop down below and show us some love by liking, subscribe and sharing. Next chapter will come out soon enough if not already. But for the meantime, check out our other videos on the screen. I highly recommend The Daily Life of the Immortal King. The link is in the comments section below. Thank you for watching until the end. Subscribe for more videos like this.